Hi, I'm Meg. Welcome to Plant Fit Meg. Welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to dive right into how to save money on your grocery bill as a plant-based eater. And I think these tips can pretty much apply across the board, but I've been vegan for 7 years, eating mostly whole food plant-based, and I want to share my best tips for saving some money at the grocery store. Times are tough, inflation is real, and so I hope these tips are helpful to you for saving a little bit of money on your grocery bill. If you enjoy this video, remember to give it a like and share it with anyone who you think might find it helpful. Let's jump right in. My first tip is to meal plan or recipe plan a little bit. So starting with what is already in your household, and particularly with things that are fresh that might be on their last legs or need to be used up, start with those ingredients and use a recipe that will use up those ingredients first. And recipes and meals that you can make that are with ingredients that you already have in your household. Oftentimes we end up with large stockpiles of different things and we forget about certain items that we have on hand. So sometimes shopping your own stash first, going into your fridge, freezer, pantry, and just kind of going through the cupboards to assess what's there and see what's going on can be really helpful in starting to meal plan and recipe plan a little bit based on what you already have in the household. If you only need a couple of, minimal items, then that'll be a relatively inexpensive recipe to put together. So that's a great starting point for putting together a recipe and meals that are cost effective and will work with your budget. Once you've picked out a few meals or a few recipes, make a list of the items that you need. You can also do this at the same time as you are looking at flyers so that you can see what's on sale and sort of shop sales at the same time and try to have your recipes and your meal planning sort of coincide with what's on sale and what will be a good price for the week. And sometimes it's a little challenging to do, but there are ways to do it so that it's a bit easier. You can have paper flyers in front of you, of course, that you're comparing, or if you know off the top of your head certain prices of things at certain different shops, it can be a bit easier to compare. Or you can always use a price comparison app. I've used Flip a little bit, and that can be helpful to compare prices too. Another great thing to do is to go to the cheapest shop in your area. So sometimes you won't have access to multiple grocery stores in your location, depending on where you are. But if you do have access to multiple grocery stores near your home or near your workplace or near your gym, somewhere else that you'd be going to anyway, and then maybe you can pick up groceries on the way home, try to pick the grocery store that is going to be the least expensive option in your area overall. It won't be true for every single item all the time, but typically there are discount grocery stores that will be a little more cost effective than others. When we were in Ontario, we liked to shop at Food Basics, and now that we're in Vancouver, we tend to shop at No Frills. So that's just what has worked out well for us, but definitely compare prices and get a bit of a sense of which shops tend to be more expensive and which tend to be a little on the more cost-effective side of things. When you make your list for your groceries, shop with your list. Refer to it. Stick to your list as much as possible. Sometimes it can be tempting to grab extra things and this and that. And sometimes that makes sense if you're running low on something and you realize, oh, this item is on sale and it's not going to go bad and it'll be great. Or you see something that is greatly reduced that's fresh. Sometimes they have those stands in the shops where they have the sort of last legs, last chance items, and that can be something to kind of bump up your meals and could be a good price point that you didn't really expect to find. Little nice treats and surprises. So definitely go for that to add to your meals and bump them up. But overall, I recommend sticking to your list as much as possible to avoid overspending and kind of overdoing it on the budget, and also just having what you need on hand rather than having tons of extra stuff that you really don't need and you're not going to get through quickly. If you do have storage space in your place and you can get things in bulk or get things that are on a really great sale that are reduced that won't go bad, then go for it. That can be a good option. But overall, sticking to your list will help to keep the cost reasonable, and then you know you're getting exactly what you need and what you went out to get. Compare prices, and not just between different stores, but compare prices in the actual shop too. Oftentimes one item will have multiple brands that have the same item. For canned beans, dried beans, for frozen vegetables, frozen fruit, they'll be in different quantities and in different brands. So definitely compare, and don't just compare the total price, because oftentimes the quantity of the item is not the same. So look at the fine print on the label, and hopefully at your shop, because I know they don't all do this, but oftentimes they will have the unit price. So compare those numbers to see, because oftentimes the store brand is the most cost-effective option, but occasionally it's not. So it's good to always compare and not just grab things and just guess at what's going to be most cost effective. Make sure you're looking at shelving that is above eye level or below eye level as well, because oftentimes eye level is kind of the prime space in the grocery store, so they might put more cost-effective options lower down or sometimes higher up as well. So make sure to watch out for that. Be flexible with your recipes. So sometimes your recipe will call for a certain type of vegetable or a certain ingredient, and maybe it's either not accessible in the shop that you're at, or it's just extremely costly. Have some flexibility there with what you might be able to swap in and sub in that can still work for your recipe. It'll still be delicious. It won't change the whole thing completely, but you can make little subtle changes and tweaks here and there to make it more cost effective. Another great thing to do is to choose processed items really wisely. So processed items are typically going to be more expensive than the, fresh or frozen counterparts that are just the base ingredients for things. So when you are buying a convenience item, getting it on sale is always great if possible, or making sure that it's something that you can really enjoy with your family and that you're just being very mindful and conscious of what processed foods you're bringing into your household, because oftentimes those prices add up a lot, especially if you're buying multiple processed things at once. If each item is, $8, $10, that's going to add up really, really quickly versus buying something that is less processed. That being said, not all processed foods are bad, and not all processed foods are super expensive for what you're getting. So this is kind of a balancing act and kind of a judgment call based on how you're eating, how much you're eating, what your goals are, what you need. I have found with trying to eat a little bit more high protein foods in my diet because of my athletic pursuits, I have ventured into a little bit more processed foods here and there, but it's not every single shop and it's not every single meal by any means. So I just choose wisely. I pick and choose. I try to shop sales if I can, and I'm just very mindful of it. So that's another good thing to do. Another thing to consider beyond your budget is also the time involved and things like that. So if you're buying, let's say, pre-made burgers or pre-made vegan sausages or something like this, how much time, energy, effort, how many different ingredients would it take to make that item at home? And sometimes you kind of have to weigh the option, and sometimes the processed option will be a better option in that instance. And if you can do things homemade, do it yourself, then awesome, that's great. For the most part, that's going to be a good option and a more affordable option. But here and there, getting the processed item will make more sense for you. So choose wisely when you're grabbing those more processed items. Another thing I should have mentioned about flyers and comparison apps is that some shops actually do price matching. So when you're looking at flyers, it's good to compare different items and compare things. And maybe shop at different shops if you can That's not always possible though, based on time and energy and all of that. So another thing that can be helpful is shops that price match. So some grocery stores will price match. If there's an advertised price lower, they will honor that price. So check at your local shops, your local supermarkets, to see if there are any places that do that, because that's another great way to save some money and still sort of do a one-stop shop. Sometimes buying foods at ethnic markets and different shops like that can be more cost-effective too, so that can be something to look into as well. I've also noticed that the same items can be priced very differently within the same store depending on where they are located in the store. So I realized this fairly recently, I want to say, just in the last couple of years. And I'm kind of kicking myself now that I didn't notice it earlier, because I probably could have saved myself some money. But I have noticed that the price will be different and they will have the same items in different locations in the store. And they might not be the exact same brand, they might not be the exact same product, but it'll be the same item. So for nuts, for example, in a lot of stores, they will be in the baking area, but they might also be in sort of a bulk bin area, or they might also be in the snack aisle. And I have found that typically they tend to be less expensive in the baking aisle. I'm not sure why that is. They look the same, but you might be able to save a little bit of money just by looking in different aisles for the same item. Dates can often be found in multiple locations, and so take a look and compare the prices there. And another thing that I've noticed is some sauces and salsa and things like that. If there's an international aisle in your grocery store, the price there might be different than if a sauce is elsewhere in the store, or often in the natural food area or the health food kind of area, things will be more expensive. Different brands and things like that also, can contribute to it, but good to shop around and compare. This may take a little bit more time up front, but once you sort of figure it out and find the lay of the land, it's kind of fun to figure out where you can save some money and different ways to sort of hack the system a little bit and make it work to your advantage. Sometimes buying things in a bigger package will be more cost effective. Oftentimes that's the case, but every so often you'll find something in a smaller package and you compare the unit price and, oh, surprise, actually buying this smaller quantity will be more cost effective. Another thing that can be helpful sometimes is if your shop has a rewards program, then you may as well be earning rewards and getting points of some kind that you can redeem later for money off. Coupons, of course, can be wonderful too. Watch out for store coupons, look online for coupons for different items, and that can also be helpful, of course, as well. So happy grocery shopping and happy saving a little bit of money on those grocery items. I know it's tough times out there. Do the best you can. I hope you really enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you have any tips that you use, absolutely leave them in the comment section below so we can chat about it and share what is working well for us. I hope you're having an amazing day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!